Good evening. Today is July 7th. It is 7 p.m. for those of us in the Central Time Zone. My name is Nathan Polsky. I am the Libertarian Party of Texas Campaign Support Director. Tonight we have Jessi Cowart, currently running for Texas House, interviewing. We've got a series of questions. If you are following along on any of our streaming platforms, we are currently live streaming on Facebook, X, YouTube. Feel free to drop into the chat, say hi, toss some questions out there, toss out some comments. We'll post them up on the screen if we have time later on. Co-hosting with me tonight is David Feit. You know the format. You've been here before, so let's get into it. Hey, Jessi.
Hello. How are you?
Good. And how are you?
Doing well. Thank you.
Excellent. David, how are you doing today?
We're doing good.
Oh,
happy to be here.
Always happy to have people here. We had bad weather yesterday. I don't know if I had some up here. I don't know if you guys had some bad weather near you.
A little bit. It got a little stormy today. My animals were huddled underneath my desk while I was working today.
I always worry that a big storm is going to roll through right when we're doing one of these, and then out goes the power, and there goes the stream. So far, knocking on some wood here, we've been good.
Well, I have battery backups for my internet.
Stop going wireless. No more battery backups. All right. So like I had said in the intro, we've got a series of questions here. We're going to toss them out. Take as long or as little as you like to answer them. The longer answer you give, the better content we have and the better responses you can give out to all of your voters. So we're just going to go ahead and kick this off with our first question. It's a pretty basic one. So question number one, Jessi, why are you running for Texas House, and what do you believe your district needs most from its next representative?
Yeah, I'm running because I really haven't seen any of my Montgomery County representatives address the issue of affordability in a really long time. So I feel like affordability is the number one issue of facing Montgomery County. It's a kitchen table issue. It's affecting all generations, and there's not enough people talking about it right now. For those of you who are part of Libertarian Party of Texas and know me, I've been part of party leadership for a number of years. My kids graduated from high school a couple of years ago. I got them settled into college. And I always said that if I was going to do this, I wanted to do it right. I wanted to go all in. And now with them kind of adulting and settled in at college and everything, it felt like now was the time. I've spent a number of years, volunteering for campaigns as a volunteer, as a donor. I just kind of got to that point, particularly in Montgomery County, where I just wasn't seeing the type of representative that I wanted to see, and really just kind of had that why not me moment. And like I said, with the kids kind of off and settled and thriving, it was the time for me to really step up to the plate.
Awesome. Yeah, we see a lot of people that kind of put their name in the hat last second and just on a whim, didn't really think it through. But it sounds like you've spent a lot of time, thinking about it, considering it, and perfect timing. All right. David, let's kick our second question over to you.
All right. Texas has grown rapidly, but many residents still face high property taxes and rising local debt. What would you do in Austin to give taxpayers lasting relief?
Yeah. The property taxes are definitely rising higher than the population rate, or even population plus inflation. It's really a problem. I know they tried to tackle it in the legislative session in 2023, applying some compression, but where they're really falling short is not addressing the spending. And whenever you get down to it, there's really no viable property tax reform or plan if it doesn't address government spending as well. So a couple of things. We've got a $24 billion budget. That's not even including the rainy day fund. We actually had an appropriations bill for additional funding last session. So we are rolling in money in Texas, which a lot of people think is a great thing, but really what it means is that we've been overtaxed. So what I would propose is to use some of that budget surplus and maybe even some of that rainy day fund to start trying to buy down M&O tax debt from these school districts, which is a huge part of the tax debt. I don't know about you, but whenever I look at my property tax bill, school district tax is a big part of it. So using that budget surplus, returning it back to the people in the way of property tax relief and putting us on a path to property tax elimination. But again, you can't do just that. You have to address the spending problem as well. And from a state perspective, we've got 5 limits on state spending, right? I think it's 4 constitutional and 1 statutory. But whenever you get down to local municipal governments, 0 limits. There's no limits to that. And while I am most certainly a proponent of decentralized government and bottom up, I do think that this is going to be one of those things where the state of Texas is going to have to legislate local spending limits, because if we do not address the local spending limits and get that started reined in, any property tax reform that comes from the state level is going to be offset by increases in local spending. So you can't have one without the other. It's got to be both. That's it. You can't do just one or the other. So I am a fan of moving us toward property tax elimination. That is my end game, is completely eliminating property taxes. And whenever I'm out talking to folks, they're just like, but what about, what about infrastructure? What about this? And I don't think anybody's talking about 0 services at all. Ultimately, would like to see a lot of that privatized. But if we can put in some local spending limits, and again, something reasonable like population plus the rate of inflation, get that done, get some of that M&O tax debt bought down with the surplus, we can get ourselves transitioned to more of a sales tax type model, whereas that's better than what we've got now, right? At least a sales tax type of infrastructure would be more transparent, less arbitrary than some of the appraisals that are driving property tax rates. You will often see, property tax rates go down, appraisal go up. So there's a lot of moving parts to that have to be addressed in aggregate to really move the needle, and it can't be just one piece. You have to look at it holistically.
Yeah. You mentioned M&O debt. What is that?
Yeah, so that is managing operating debt for school districts. So this is basically a school district debt that they take on, and basically it compounds. And then that is kind of passed along to the taxpayers in the way of higher tax rates. So there's a number of things that kind of go into it. I think everybody's kind of familiar with school bonds and everything. The M&O stuff is separate from the bonds for the most part. But being able to buy down that debt would be a huge benefit. And we've absolutely got the cash to do it. We're sitting on a mountain of cash in Texas right now, and there's no reason to hoard it whenever people could definitely use the relief.
Yeah, we hear a lot of people talking about, oh, we want lower taxes, but nobody's talking about, well, in order to do that, you've got to lower the spending too. You can't just keep raising that spending. It doesn't work that way. It's
right.
All right. So let's see here. Let's move on to our next question. Question number 3. What state laws or regulations do you believe make it harder for Texans to start businesses, build homes, work, or use their own property?
Yeah. So I think zoning restrictions.
Did she pause for you?
Are
Is it just me?
the
No, that's
zoning commission for.
Jessi, I don't know if you
Jessi,
can hear us, but it sounds like you may have frozen. I knocked on wood earlier.
Did I lose you guys?
Oh, there she is.
There you are. Just telling David I knocked on wood earlier, so nothing could go wrong.
I know. I'm not sure what happened there. But I'm not sure where I cut out, but I think
almost
I was talking
at the
about
very beginning.
The very beginning.
Answer. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I was talking about zoning, right? So I was
Yes.
talking about zoning and permits and everything, and I was saying that a lot of the zoning laws that we have in our local communities and some of the permit structures and just the sheer amount of time that it takes to get approved for permits and everything really do make it hard for Texans to start businesses. Entrepreneurs are often facing friction from strict commercial permitting rules, and it's things like specialized drainage and floodplain regulations and localized deed restrictions. All of those things are really barriers for businesses to get up and running and being able to start thriving and making money in a quick way and starting to build on the capital that they've put out to start their business. So that zoning is a big part of it as far as the regulations that I would like to see go out. As far as building homes, though, a lot of that affects home builders too. Those same permitting regulations are going to impact home builders, and particularly small business home builders, like your mom and pop home builders. So like DR Horton and Pulte and all of these, huge chain builders and everything, they've got the capital to be able to wait out all of these, permitting restrictions and initial buy-ins that they have to do to start to build and everything. But whenever you get into, kind of Joe Q, local home builder, trying to just, make his way in the market, those are barriers. Those are obstacles to him being able to be successful and thriving in that market. So I would say those things then become not just, fluff, bureaucracy and everything, but you're actually manipulating the market at that point. You need to remove those market obstacles.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's ever tried to build a home. It's not fun with all the regulations and the surveys and everything else that you have to do. It's especially bad when the city or the local municipality has to send somebody out to inspect it. They show up for 5 minutes. You've shelled out several $100s, and then they say, "Here you go," and they didn't do anything. Just red tape.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I wonder if that has anything to do with the cost of housing or something. You think that
couldn't have anything to do with the cost of housing right now?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our question number 4. Speaking of local control.
Oh, I like this one. How would you defend local control while also protecting individuals when their cities, counties, school districts, or state agencies are overstepping their authority?
Yeah, no, that's a tough one, though. And it's a great question. And it kind of goes back to what I was talking about with the decentralization, right? You want to empower local governments. You want decisions that are affecting the communities to be made as local as possible. You don't want to take a top-down approach. But sometimes you do have to take a top-down approach on things like where I was talking about reining in government spending, where you have to have local spending limits. That does come top-down from the state, but that is protecting individuals from their local governments and making sure that those their tax dollars are being used wisely. There's good stewardship. There's good transparency, and that they are basically being protected as taxpayers at the lowest levels of government. So it's a kind of a fine line to walk there. So I would say my default position is always to empower the local government. But whenever the local government is not being a good steward of taxpayer dollars or civil liberties or what have you, I think it then does behoove the state government to step in and set some guidelines.
Yeah, I agree. Well said.
All right. All right. So we're about halfway through now. For anybody who is currently watching on, again, YouTube, Facebook, or X, feel free to comment, put some questions into the chat. And if we have time here towards the end, we'll throw some curveballs to Jessi and see how well she knocks them out of the park. All right. So moving on to our next question here, let's talk about schools. What is your approach to school choice, and how would you make sure private schools and homeschool families are not burdened by new state mandates?
Yeah, so we had a big moment last legislative session with Senate Bill 2 with the school choice bill, which I guess if you're a fan of incremental change, there's something to be said about moving in the right direction. But when it comes down to it, just bottom line on top, SB2 didn't take it far enough. And what I mean is with SB2, basically what we are seeing is I think it was something like 274,000 families applied for the Texas Education Freedom Accounts. And I think that as of July 1st, when payouts started going out, it was something like 74,000. And this is after months of applications and lottery drawings. It's the demand, you can already see like right out the gate that the demand has exceeded the funding. And I think that that's going to be problematic. But here in Texas, we do everything in baby steps. So I am pleased that we are kind of starting to move in that direction. I'm pleased to see that the payout started as of July 1st. The Texas Education Fund account marketplace officially went live on July 1st. But there's a lot more that we need to be doing to actually get to universal school choice, where the funding actually follows the student, right? Right now, the way that it's working is the public schools are largely insulated from this. And I don't say that as a knock on public schools. I know that, there's a lot of viewers who are, not fans of public schools, and some folks who are. I think teachers do a thankless job and administrators, and I've got nothing for respect for them. But I also support a market that is going to be rewarding outcomes. And if we're not seeing the right outcomes, then we need to allow families to move to, whether it's a homeschool or a private school or a charter school, to get the outcome for their child that they desire. And when that happens, that money should go with the child wherever they go. It should not remain in the public school. So all that to be said, it's going to be interesting in the 90th Ledge next year to see how this plays out. If I had to kind of, stick a finger in the wind and kind of predict how it's going to go, I think that we're probably going to see the Texas legislature kind of resting on their laurels when it comes to school choice this next session. I think everybody's still going to be kind of patting themselves on the back. I think they're liking to say that they've got the largest school choice program in the nation now. I don't know if that data supports that or not. We'll see. But I think this next session is probably going to be less focused on legislative debate around school choice. I envision that it's probably going to be more on program performance. So we'll have, the first official school year in, we'll be able to start seeing, utilization data, be it from the marketplace, performance metrics, how the money is being spent, be it on tuition, books, therapies, transportation, what have you. I think there's a lot of good data that's going to come out of this. And I hope that once we have all of this data, then looking forward to the 2029 legislative session, then we can kind of regroup and say, okay, now can we do true universal school choice now?
So what you're saying is that if you were elected, then you would either sponsor or co-sponsor a even stronger school choice bill.
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Excellent.
There we go.
That's what we need. More school choice. So if you live in Jessi's district and you're in favor of school choice, you have your candidate.
Yeah, I would love to know what the marketing budget was for the Texas Freedom accounts, because I was hearing ads to go sign up and apply on the radio at least twice an hour, every hour for weeks and weeks and weeks over this year. I'd love to know how many more kids they could have funded with the money they spent marketing it to kids they couldn't afford to fund.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, right now, like I said, I think there was I think it was 274K that actually applied, and funding has gone out to 73,000. And to put that into perspective, there's 6 million school age kids in the state of Texas. So, obviously not all of them are coming out and applying, but like I said, you can already see that the demand is outpacing the funding. So even as we're going right now, we can already tell that there is a desire for this. There is a demand for this, and we need to figure out how to do that. And the way that we do that is by actually funding the student and having their education dollars go where they go.
All right. Let's see here. We got a few more questions left before we head to the chat. So let's move on here. Question number 6. I believe, David, this one is yours. Unless he's frozen now.
Oh, no.
He's either sitting very still or he's frozen. All right. I'm assuming the latter here. So let me go ahead. I'll go ahead and read this one off.
Sure.
All right. Texas is facing concerns about water, grid reliability, and large developments such as data centers. How would you protect residents and ratepayers without violating property rights?
Yeah. So number one, no eminent domain for data centers. That's a non-starter right there. And I haven't heard a whole lot to that effect. So I don't know that is happening widespread, but I think that should be kind of the first thing out the gate. Definitely nothing that I would support from an eminent domain perspective for any reason, much less data centers. But I think it's a really good conversation to have. And I think that this, again, reading the tea leaves for the 90th legislative session, this is going to be a hot topic, because there is a large grassroots movement that is very adamantly against data centers right now. And I think there's a lot of legitimate concerns out there, but I also think that there's a lot of misinformation out there as well. And I think that, our job as policymakers is to kind of, sift through that and really kind of discern what is fact and fiction, or maybe a little bit of just people being scared. I know that last month Governor Abbott gave a mandate to the Public Utility Commission and to ERCOT, saying start looking into large load customers and how we're going to manage that. And to Abbott's credit, I like a lot of what he's saying. We'll see if it holds. But, in terms of those large load customers, basically bearing the brunt for the infrastructure, right? No more tax incentives for data centers or large load providers. If they're going to operate in a community, they need to be able to carry their weight. That cost for whatever additional infrastructure may be needed, in terms of connectivity or what have you, should be borne by the developer, not by the communities, the taxpayers in the communities that they're operating in. In terms of the electric grid, I mean that's a valid concern, right? But again, I think my concern, just based on kind of the rhetoric that I'm hearing right now, is that folks are wanting to kind of use, the electricity and the water concerns kind of as a reason to just kind of pump the brakes on the data centers. And I don't think that that's the answer too. I think that we should sit down and have the conversation. We need to look at it and, approach it in a facts and data kind of way. But the fact of the matter is that AI consumption is not going away. And so AI data centers are going to continue to need to be built. What we need to be doing in Texas is encouraging the innovation, right? So, closed water systems, using wastewater, air cooling systems. Innovate. Put that on the developer to innovate and make sure that they are not taxing the natural resources in the communities that they operate in. And again, for the electric grid, making sure that they are bearing the brunt for any kind of infrastructure enhancements that are needed to support them. And honestly, this shouldn't just be an AI data center conversation. This should be a conversation for any kind of large load customer, right? Like I don't know why data centers are being called out in this, other than it's fashionable. But this is an issue that has been kind of plaguing Texas for some time in terms of the consistency of the electrical grid, water resources, and everything like that. We need to be innovating and leading the charge in growing the Texas economy, but we need to do it in a smart way. So I welcome the conversation, but I want to make sure that we're not shying away from growth because we're afraid to kind of have the conversation around what it's going to take to meet that demand, because that's what we should be doing. We should be stepping up to meet the demand.
Yeah, it's almost like some of those local regulations you're talking about earlier may have an impact on this.
Yeah, they very well might.
All right. David, we're going to kick this next one over to you.
Right. What specific state spending, corporate subsidies, or government programs would you cut, reform, or make more transparent? And you can't say all of them.
I was about to say, okay, so I have to pick one. I'll pick one. The one that really kind of got me with the last legislative session was the $1.5 billion to fund Hollywood filmmaking in Texas. Hollywood doesn't need our money. We should not be using taxpayer dollars to fund Hollywood, even if it's to export our values. That is the most egregious use of taxpayer dollars that I get mad every time I think about it. So yeah, that would be cut, gone. Sorry, McConaughey.
Yeah.
All right. All right, we've got one more question here. We've got a few things in the chat that we'll bring up afterwards.
Okay.
So last one. David, would you like to take this one?
Sure. You want to show me what it is first?
No, you got to remember it.
No. What limits should Texas place on surveillance tools, civil asset forfeiture, and other government powers that can be used against people who have not been convicted of or even charged with a crime?
All right. So number one, deflock. We need to take out all of the flock cameras. That is mass surveillance. I have heard all of the speaking points from law enforcement folks. I have heard that if you have done nothing wrong, you've got nothing to fear. You're not that important. The police and government agencies aren't spying on you. They don't care. Yes, they are. So, I honestly, kudos to Libertarian Party of Texas, actually ran some social media posts. I can't remember if it was today or yesterday, talking about flock cameras and talking about usage where it was done in a malfeasant way by law enforcement officers spying on ex-girlfriends or random other people. So whenever they say, only law enforcement is going to have access to it, well, okay, well, how do we know that law enforcement is going to use that
That's
data?
what I'm afraid of. Like,
I think the running total right now is 18 law enforcement officers that have been charged.
Yeah. And I know we've already had lawsuits going to, federal courts as far as, kind of talking about the constitutionality of this in the first place. Like, is this a violation of the Fourth Amendment? I think it is. So I think those conversations will continue to trickle out. But when it gets down to it, even if these these databases can be, used for good to catch violent criminals on occasion, our freedoms don't stop where our sense of safety begins. And we can't allow our personal data to be collected without our consent and go into these databases, which are shared with God knows how many other government agencies. I don't believe that they're only being used by HOAs, or they're only being used by law enforcement. Nothing that I have seen from the government has given me any kind of faith to believe that the data that's being used is not being purged on a regular basis, or that it's not being shared out to other government agencies.
One of the more recent ones was the FBI wanting full access to all flock databases in the US.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to be scary.
Yeah. So
The
yes,
FBI are the
definitely
good guys now,
support the
don't you know?
deflock movement. I'm sorry, David. What did you say?
I was just saying, don't you know the FBI are the good guys now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I could go off on a soapbox on flock cameras and mass surveillance, but there was a kind of a multiple parts to this question. So I do want to touch on civil asset forfeiture, because that is an issue that is near and dear to my heart. So a lot of people don't know what this is. So I always kind of like to approach this topic by explaining. Civil asset forfeiture is basically when a law enforcement officer can seize your property and you haven't even been convicted of a crime, right? So this isn't criminal asset forfeiture where, okay, you have been, caught, trafficking drugs, and, the $1 million that you had in your car is being confiscated. This is literally like you have been stopped. You have not been through due process, and they have actually taken your property, and you're having to fight to get it back. So civil asset forfeiture is legalized theft. Interestingly enough, this is a nonpartisan issue. Not a lot of people know this. In the Republican Party of Texas platform against civil asset forfeiture, Libertarian Party of Texas, Democratic Party of Texas, everybody on paper agrees that this needs to be abolished. But for some reason, every single legislative session, there is a bill or multiple bills that come up to try to abolish this, and it never makes it through. So I will just say that the law enforcement lobby is something to be reckoned with in Texas, and they're going to try to kill this every time. But we have got to keep fighting on this. It's not an issue that a lot of people are familiar with, but this is definitely one that I plan to platform as part of my campaign.
What's the over-under that the police lobby is using funds from civil asset forfeiture to lobby the state?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably pretty likely.
We're stealing your money, and we're using it so we can keep stealing your money.
Or paying for the flock contracts.
Right?
All right. So that's going to end it with the questions that we've got. Let's move over here to the chat real quick.
Okay.
All right. Talking about schools. Any thought on religious freedom in Texas schools, seeing as the Bible content and 10 Commandments are being required? We know we just had that bill passed in the Texas legislature requiring specific Bible verses to be said or given during public schools.
Yeah, I'm all about religious freedom. Religious liberty should be prolific. If somebody wants to pray in school, they should be able to do so. I mean, my kids were part of, Fellowship of Christian Athlete student organizations. I think that, there should always be ways to kind of practice your faith and be able to do it openly in schools. But where I take issue is whenever the state legislature starts to very clearly show preferential treatment to one religion over another. And I've heard the arguments, guys, that they're not teaching scripture. They're teaching it in an academic sense. They're not teaching it in a religious way. It's only a handful of scriptures at certain levels, and that Bible is probably the most important, book in Western civilization. I've heard all of that, and I want to acknowledge all of that as a from the get go. So whenever I say that, I still think that it's not right. You know that I've heard and I've considered your arguments. If it's just to be able to learn about world religions and things like that, because I know that whenever you're talking about world history or world religions and everything, you do learn about Islam and Buddhism and Hindu and all the other things. But if you're going to start cherry picking a particular religion to use for academic purposes, then I feel like you're getting into murky area. And the First Amendment does say that we will not establish a religion, right? We've got the Establishment Clause that very, very clearly outlines that, and the Free Exercise Clause that very clearly outlines that. I think that there are people who are saying right now that, well, it doesn't say anything about separation of church and state in the Constitution. It doesn't. That phrase isn't there. Fair enough. But we have got decades of precedent in judicial opinions that say that this is the law of the land, and now we're trying to change that narrative. So if it were just saying, okay, we're going to look at this from an academic perspective, and it's the Bible being there's a lot of things in literature that are include allusions from the Bible, like I could almost get on board with that. But to the questioner's point, like this comes on the heels of them mandating that every single Texas classroom have the 10 Commandments. So it almost feels disingenuous, like they're trying to insult our intelligence by saying like, oh, well, this is purely academic, but you have to have this in the classroom. So for religious liberty, but I don't like it shoved down the throats of students and families, particularly those who, are not believers, or they're believers in another faith.
Yeah.
I know that was a long-winded answer. I feel pretty passionate about that one. So I hope I answered that one.
Being passionate is always good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always a tough line between, history, science, fact versus religion. If you are of that faith, then it's all fact and it's all history. And
Right.
like I was raised homeschooled by a fairly like fundamentalist Christian family. So like my world history textbook started with Adam and Eve, and it just goes from there, And it's tough to really draw that line when, but because you effectively have to tell Christians that part of what they believe isn't factual and is religious, and therefore isn't curriculum. Or you have to like it murkies up the waters. But I think you're 100% right when you say that we can't be picking and choosing. And I would lean towards just educating on all of it. If you want to have Bible verses in the classroom, have a little bit of everything and let the kids pick which thing actually sounds the best to them. And then it's kind of up to the teachers and the Christians in your community to let Christianity win out in those kids' minds.
Or even better, leave that to the parents in places of worship.
Also that.
Yeah. It sounds like it's a no-brainer there. All right. Let's see here. We've got one more question here. What do you say to conservative or independent voters who still want smaller government but no longer see Republicans delivering it?
Welcome home. Folks, the Libertarian Party is the answer when it comes to limited government and fiscal responsibility. The Republicans abandoned those principles long ago. The GOP, as it exists in its current state, is all in on the culture war. They They do not care about limited government or fiscal responsibility or individual liberty anymore. They think that they are engaged in spiritual warfare, and they are willing to use our government houses, our places of worship, and our schools as their spiritual battlegrounds. I don't believe that should be that fight should be waged in any of those places. So I would say that regardless of whether you're a cultural conservative or not, if you truly believe in reining in government spending and reducing the size and scale of government and bringing taxation down, the Libertarian Party is the only answer. The Democrats aren't going to do it. The Republicans aren't going to do it. The Libertarian Party is the only party that is actually still concerned about affordability. So welcome home. We have snacks. I really hope that you stick around.
And we're libertarians, so you know they're good snacks.
Yeah.
True that.
All right. I think that's going to wrap it up for what we've got. All right. So, Jessi, you've got a website, right? How do people reach you?
You can reach me at www.cowartfortexas.com. That is my website. If you add a /donate to that, you could donate to my campaign. Every dollar is being put to work. We just launched a big digital advertising campaign targeted at voters in House District 15. So every single dollar is going to be used for digital advertising, for marketing, yard signs, outreach. We will not be outworked. We may be outspent, but we will not be outworked. So every dollar that you can contribute, even if it's just, $5, once a month or something like that is very much appreciated and will be put to work. So cowartfortexas.com/donate. But if you just go to cowartfortexas.com, you can get all of the information about me on my website. And then if you have any questions, you can always email info@cowartfortexas.com as well.
Nice. And do you need people to sign up to volunteer or something like that? Is that something?
I'm so glad you asked. I do. And so for those of you who are watching and you're like, okay, Texas House District 15, where is that exactly? That is in Montgomery County. So this is part of the Houston metro area. So Montgomery County is in the county that is directly north of Harris County, where Houston is the seat. And House District 15 is the southern part of that county. So it actually kind of butts up to Harris County, where Houston is. And so if you are in the House District 15 area, that's the Woodlands, Oak Ridge North, Shenandoah, kind of the Rayford 99 corridor, would absolutely welcome you to join us at any of our outreach events. We are always going to need people to go, bang in yard signs and things like that. But even if you aren't in the area, if you're just, a libertarian somewhere in Texas or somewhere in the United States, and you're watching and you want to get involved in the campaign, please reach out to us, because we will absolutely be doing text banking and phone banking and things like that. We always need people to research issues and things like that. So if research is kind of your thing and you want to be more of a behind the scenes person rather than a talking to someone person, we will find a place for you. So the more help we can get, the better. We are in it to win it. So please help us with your time or treasure.
Perfect. All right. Anything else you'd like to shout out before we wrap up here?
I feel like I've touched on all the things. David, have I forgotten anything?
Nothing I can think of. I think you did good.
All right. Well, Jessi, thank you for coming on tonight. Thank you, everybody who is in the live chat. I see some more, y'all carrying on conversations there. Again, we are streaming live on Facebook, on X, on YouTube. Once the stream is done, you can share it with your friends, share it with your families, go share it with everybody else. Reach out to Jessi at cowartfortexas.com. Help her out. Send her some money. She's got a campaign to win. She's got to go promote the bills, deflocking Texas, school choice in Texas, ending property taxes. If you care about any of that stuff, you know who your candidate is.
Awesome. Thanks so
And-
much for having me, guys. I really had a good time.
Yeah, thanks for
All
coming on.
right. All right. Well, thank you again. And everybody, have a good night.